Hello folks and welcome. Linux Mint 22.1. I'm going to talk about custom icon sets and also editing icons that if you install a theme, for instance. And we'll talk about also if you use certain individual custom icons, they will not change with the themes. I'm going to be using a tool called GIMP to do some highlighting. So Linux Mint 22.1 Cinnamon. You can also use this video for LMDE6, and I do recommend subscription, well over 500 videos. So most of these icons do not look normal to you, including that. Now that's a separate category, which I'll discuss also. And we can deal with Software Manager. That icon will not change until I manually change that, but the rest of these icons will change, because that is set by me. And this rest of these icons are done with a theme. So as long as you lock these in, these will not change when you change themes. So I'm going to also talk about the importance of some of those files. So in either case, I will continue and say welcome. So I am filming in 1080, but my screen resolution is in 4K mode. So a couple of things to be aware of. I will show you a place where you can download these extra themes, and generally you're just going to uncompress them and put them in a folder. So I'll talk about folder locations. And then I'll also talk about editing physical icons, including that one or anything else for that matter. Okay, so my Software Manager, you can probably see the hamburger menu here. I thought that was a crack up when I saw that. You can look for this tool here later if you want to also edit icons. All right, your icon will look probably like this one. So let me turn on Grommet, the highlighter tool, for a second, and point out a couple of things in case you install GIMP. If you decide to use the software package, it will have the Linux Mint logo, and you'll have an install button up here. This is a 133 megabyte download. That was a bad highlighting. All right, let's do this again. 133 megabytes. And then this version here is 210.36. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do is flip this over to the other one, which is called FlatHub. Flatpak software, a lot of people do not understand that other Linux distributions use that. It comes from flathub.org. And generally this is bigger. So download size and disk space wise. But this is version 3.0.2. So if you need those extra bells and whistles, then install that feature. But I'm using the very basic package. So that's why this one says remove on it. We're going to talk about that later when we talk about custom icons. So let me talk about important file locations first before I continue, and then we can get into the meat of things. And again, I do recommend subscribing. So just to give you an idea, this is Hazel. She's our made-up name user for today. And that's the large size of these, and that's the smallest. So generally, Linux distributions put in hidden folders in the user's home folder. If you're not aware of that, they're there. Show hidden. They all begin with a period or dot. This is secure shell, and we're going to talk about this one. So when you install Linux Mint for the first time, and maybe some of you folks upgraded and don't remember this, but you were asked to do first steps. Now when you click on your desktop colors, your icons will look different. It opened up the themes section of your system settings. In other words, this. Now, the Cinnamon desktop for Linux Mint, I don't care if you're using LMDE6 or Linux Mint 22, when you click this, here I'll use the highlighter tool. When you click themes, it looks for a folder in here. That folder is right here. It is called dot or period icons. When you click themes, it looks for that folder. If it's missing, it generates a new one. So the folder generally is blank to start with. So if you're dot icons folder is already there. When you hit that the second time, it won't generate a new one. It's only if it's missing. Now, what do I put in that folder? Well, that's the nifty trick here. So let me turn off the highlighter and go into standard mode and close the system settings. What I put in this folder is two things. I put in icon sets and mouse cursors, manual installations of those. The ones I'm currently highlighting are icon sets. This is what I'm currently using right now. That's a mouse cursor. Now let me show you where these are located when you actually see it in your settings. BUUF something, it's that one. So the mouse cursor GJ Fox is this one right here. So where are these installed? These are installed in USR share icons, along with most of this stuff. But that's this one. There's Elementosh something is here, and dark icons, slot something is this one, and the last one is a Z something. Okay, they're all located in here. Again, you won't have these. And generally what I do is I go to a website to download these, and you can too. If you're a subscriber, you can go to my About section. You'll find a link to this website. Okay, I'm going to open up Chromium. I know your icon looks different if you have Chromium. But gnome-look.org can be also found as a link on my YouTube site in the About section. And that's where my mission statement is also. Cursors are also known as mouse pointers. There's 1,023. About a couple of 6 months ago, I think there were about 800 last year. So full icon theme, 1,756. And all you got to do is find something you like and try them out. All right, if it's candy icon, some people don't like this theme and some people do. There's only a single file, you download that thing. It ends up where? It ends up in your download folder and you just uncompress it. All right, I have some demo themes in here. Let me give you an example of those. And there's candy icons right there. So I'm going to borrow this file here and throw it into my downloads to simulate I downloaded this. And all you would be doing is uncompressing. And then you would move the whole thing into your .icons folder. Okay? So we can do that right now if you like. To simulate that. Again, I downloaded that from gnome-look.org. So a lot of times I'll open these to make sure there's an index theme there because that's what the system needs. You want to see what they look like? Right-click, System Settings, Themes. There's candy icons right there. Not everybody's cup of tea. That icon still hasn't changed, even though I changed the theme on the panel and there, because these are manually assigned. And you will not see my icons change when I do this, because I manually assigned those. Those are the only two icons that I assigned currently, but I can do more. I'm just giving you a different perspective here. This one was designed for a Plasma desktop. Dolphin File Manager is generally on a Plasma desktop. Okay. There's one problem I already see with this theme. My network icon is blank. So some things can be fixed and some things cannot be fixed. Themes. Icon sets. Generally give you a different perspective. This one's called Slot Light. And where is it located again? It is in my hidden folder called .icons. It is that one right there. And what's it look like in the menus? There you go. Settings. And anyways, these are easy to change. So it doesn't matter what you're using. I'll just go back to what I started with. Sometimes it could be fun just being goofy. And sometimes we just need to change individual icons. So my TV screen is one of them. That one is another software manager. It still hasn't changed. At any time when I return these back to normal, let's if you want to call it normal, I'll use ment_sad. I always recommend that you make a screenshot of this before you play. That way you can put these back to where you were if you're going to go back to default themes. And then you can also hit this button here and it will return all your icons to default with the exception of that one. And I think there might be one more exception with like Flatpak software if you alter those icons. But generally it will restore everything back to default. That would be this icon included. Okay, now you can see the hamburger menu on this one is not a hamburger like it is in the other one. All right, so if I needed to return a whole bunch of these back to default, then maybe I want to just restore the system. Keep in mind you can do this at any time. All right, but to individually change icons, we use edit menu. Now I'm going to change the game category into something different, and I'm going to pick this icon, not from the standard icons, but I'm going to assign it permanently through Hazel's My Icons folder, and I will pick the Stormtrooper here, just to be goofy, for the games icon. Now if you have a games category but no games installed, you will not see the icon. Let me turn those off to let you see there's no game icon in here. You need at least one game to be installed to be able to see a games icon. I'll reactivate those. But this is how you can do those icons rather easily. This will not change, this will not change no matter what theme I throw at it, because it's now assigned manually, even with this one. That icon is the same, that icon is the same. I'll get out my highlighting tool again and open up the menu. The icon I'm referring to is this one and that one. The rest of these, though, are all assigned by the theme or icon set. I overwrote that with these two, and also on the panel. Okay, as long as that's understood. When you're overriding icons, they will override the system, whatever theme you're using. Okay, so let me go back on topic. We are going to be talking about maybe installing some different ones, but we're also needing to check for things. A lot of times you want to look at your panel, are all the icons there? And also we want to go through the icon sets themselves to look for blanks. Now you can either use the scroll bar here, or you can just take your mouse and point it down here, and this sometimes will just take off and start auto scrolling, or you can just manually scroll. I'm going to do that with all applications though. Okay, and I'm going to move my mouse cursor down there and it's auto scrolling. Let me trigger that a little bit better. There we go. My hand is off the mouse. But what I'm looking for is blanks. A lot of times we can fix those blank icons with our even custom icons or reassigning them from the system. Yeah, all I'm doing is looking for blanks, because whenever you're dealing with themes, you may run into blanks. So let me give you some examples, because I picked those today, just a couple of them. I'm not saying that's a developer oversight, but a lot of these themes are not designed for everything. So let me pick on this thing called Element Tosh Blueberry. And we can go look at the icons in here. And the first one that I see is Image Viewer is not there. This icon generally refers to no thumbnail. If you want to see what that icon looks like, I have it actually on as one of my tools. So I generally turn this tool on here, Show Thumbnails, and it produces that up here. So when I do that, now you can see that's the same icon. There's no thumbnails here. Okay, but I'm going to toggle that so you can see the entries. So that indicates no thumbnail. So for me to fix that, right-click, Edit, I will have to go find it, and it's right here under Properties. So image viewer is what this icon is looking for. But this icon set for lmtosh-blueberry doesn't have that icon. Apparently not, because it's blank. So I'm going to use that as my search criteria. But I don't need to do that from here. But in case I was in this mode here, maybe we can look for that. But you can see that I can also pick different icons from the system. But I can also assign it a manual, my icons. Okay, so we are dealing with image viewer. What would be a good one for that? I'll just pick that one, just to be different. Looks like a file. Now that's assigned. Okay, and you can see that it's now assigned to this one. But this is a permanent selection. So now if I change the themes, it will no longer see that. So if I went to that one there, for instance, you can see that it's still there. And so is that one, and so is this one. This is mint white aqua. But if I needed that icon to go back to image viewer from the mint side of the house, then I would do it this way. I'm just borrowing the text, and I'll reassign that. There we go. Now that's a system icon. Okay, that's back to there. So now if I change this to, let's say that one, this icon is this, and this will be different. Image viewer is now looking like that. However, this one didn't change, neither did that one. You may not like any of these sets that I'm picking for you. All I'm doing is showing you different things. Okay, image viewer is different on this one also. This one did not change, neither did that one. The last one is down at the bottom somewhere. And image viewer looks like that now. That one didn't change, this one didn't change. All right, so we can change themes. I'm just going to go back to my mint white sand. Now let's talk about individual icons. I'll use this one for my guinea pig. The thing that we need to understand when we download icons off the internet, are they free? Are you going to be using this for commercial use? Because not all icons are free. But we're going to do this for fun. For home use, generally you can just download icons that you find. Turning off hidden. So I borrowed this penguin from Hazel's hidden folder. That hidden folder is, again, my icon. So it's in here somewhere. If I can scroll, here he is. So I borrowed him and I threw him in download so it's not so busy. Okay, so let me get rid of Candy. It's already installed, so we're done with that. This has a white background, and what I'm going to do is temporarily put this over here. I do not do this on a regular basis. Always put them in proper folders if you're going to use anything on your panels. A good thing is a hidden folder. But I'm just going to demo the tool called GIMP in this picture, in this video. So I'm going to substitute that icon first. Right-click, configure. Your regular mint icons are right here. You can always revert back. All right, I'm going to change that and go to Browse and pick that from that download folder. And again, this is only for temporary purposes. Never do this if you're going to do this regularly. Because if you delete that icon, that will be a blank on a reboot. Anyways, he has a white background, not very desirable in most cases. So I'm going to put a transparency to this. And that is done through the tool called GIMP. So you may want to pay attention to some of this stuff if you want to individually correct icons. Because I'm going to actually do that to one of the themes also. So Mr. Penguin here has a white background. The first thing I normally do is to check the size of the image. All right, I usually just do scale image and see what it is. Now 512 is rather large. So I'm going to reduce the file size and the image at the same time because it'll be plenty good for my panel, about half the size. which is 256. All right, as long as the link is on, you just hit enter. 300 pixels per inch is a little too much, so I'm going to drop that to 72. And then do the scale. Okay, it makes it a little bit smaller. You can certainly hit the view and change your zoom factors. I'm just going to use my control key and scroll up. Now what I'm going to do is take this magic wand, okay, fuzzy select tool, click in here once, click Control I, inverts that, and hit Control C. It selects only the penguin. But the Control I you need first. New, and it takes on the same thing I resized the new box for. But make sure you hit the advanced options and fill with transparency, and then hit OK. Now it'll be a bunch of checkerboards. Hit Control V. Your penguin is now here. Now you need to save it. Do you use a save? No. You'll only be able to save that as an XCF. What I want to do is save that as a PNG or a JPEG. So we use an export tool for that. Export as, and you can see the formats such as PNG or JPEG. So we're going to use that. We're going to stick that in downloads. So the last one was called Linux Mint 512, and we can just keep the same name, but we'll just put a 2 there. Export, not save, export. Quality, oh, JPEG, no. We want to make that maybe PNG to be different. Export tool comes up with different settings. Sometimes I save the background color, it's active, and sometimes I don't. Compression 9 is fine. I'm going to close the tool, discard. I have 2 of these guys. You know you can hit your spacebar to get a preview, right? All right, so this guy has the white background, currently the same as that. This one, on the other hand, has a black background, and you can see the outline of it. We're going to use him next. Right-click, configure, and we're going to the download folder only for temporary measure, not permanent, and selecting that. Close, close, close. You can probably see that my panel is see-through. If you want the solid one, I will turn that feature on for you. This is a standard panel. Transparent panels also has different options if your graphics card supports that. Now he looks like he's floating in the water. He doesn't have a white background anymore. There's all kinds of tricks you can do with your tools for GIMP. So in here, you can probably see that I have different versions of this blue box. These are called supernovas. They can be done with different colors, and this is done with brushes. This is the same. It's a brush. Gives you the illusion of a 3D effect. Same thing with coloring eyeballs, okay? Or even putting in different sprites. That's also done with GIMP. This icon is this icon. You're probably going, no, it's not. I'm going to prove that to you. Right click, open with GIMP. Okay. Holding down the control key while scrolling up to make that bigger. Let me resize the centering of this. And this image is very small. It's 128 by 128. And I had it earlier on the panel, if you recall. And if I use the distort filter called kaleidoscope, that's the same icon. Kind of bizarre, isn't it? Yes, it is. So I can also use the paintbrush tool if I use that yellow thing right there. And we can also do little bursts in there. Control Z to undo those. If I use the filter called Light and Shadow Supernova, it's currently blue. I will tone that down to a yellow. And then I'll reduce the radius so it's not so bright. I will also change the number of spokes, and it'll look like it's rotating to you. But all I'm doing is eliminating some of the spokes in here. You can also save this image by doing an export. Yes, we can do lots of things with this tool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the theme that I started with, if you recall, called BUFF, and that last name there. We're going to take one of these icons over here, and it doesn't matter which one, but I'm going to find the theme itself. So again, it's in a hidden folder. Right click, show hidden, and it's located right here. And since it's on the panel, let's pick this line right here. And it's more likely an app, and it's under the B's more likely. So let's go down there and find that line. Here it is, Brave. So it's a Brave web browser. What I'm going to first do though is I'm going to copy that and throw it into downloads, just to keep a copy of the original. Okay. Then I'm going to go back and find the same icon, that one right there, and edit it in GIMP. I'll make that a little bit larger for you. And we can do goofy stuff with him. So what do I want to do with him though? We can also do, do I want to do a kaleidoscope on him? I could, but that doesn't look very good. So we can do, let me try sparkle. Let's see what that looks like. Nah, don't really care for that one. Control Z. All right, how about if we just do a simple brush? And I'll make it green. And how big is his eyes? Let me first pick a brush. Is that big enough? No, it's not. That's way too big. There. I'm just being goofy. We're going to be exporting that right back into the same location with the same name. Keep in mind, I saved the original icons in my download folder. So I'm exporting that directly into their folder. Okay, with those green blaring eyeballs. All right, I'm going to close this, and you will see that the icon in here has already changed from that to this. How do I change it on the panel? Right click, troubleshoot, restart Cinnamon. Now he's got blaring green eyeballs. Just giving you some goofy things to think about. All right, I will open up two windows here because I prefer to use it this way. It's just my preference. And we're going to find that particular icon and delete it and replace it with the original. This is a lot of work, yes, but it can also be fun. So it also duplicated that over here, if you can see that. So what I'm going to do is delete the icon and put that in here. Then I'm going to refresh the panel to back to the standard icon in both that menu and this one. Sorry, internet. Now, if I need to return these icons, I can do it manually, or I can do it this way. Now, those icons are back to standard icons, except for the panel, which is another restart Cinnamon. And then I can also return this back to the standard Mint Y sand also. And this only thing that's different about this is this icon here, which I'm now going to return to the Linux Mint logo black icon and remove that text from here. Everything should look the same except for the wallpaper and this custom icon. That is coming from the application itself. The original icon for this variety looks like that one. using Grommet highlighter. I'll highlight it for you. That icon is what I'm referring to. So in either case, folks, I will just make mention of the fact that if you do adjust icons, again, that is done through the edit menu. You can do these independently. Your file manager is right there. Your software manager is right there just for the two icons. Your games icon is here. Just make sure when you are editing icons that you are on the proper one. You can always look for the original icon by typing its name. Sometimes these are called application game icons. You can see that name right there. And there's another one right there that you can alter. But you can customize icons. You can always restore your system. And you can also download a whole bunch of these themes from websites like this. This is nonprofit. A lot of the Linux distributions get their icon sets from here, and also mouse cursors. You may notice that some of these things may look familiar to you. But in either case, have a little fun with your system and spice it up. Thank you for watching.